to ensure the fulfilment of the obligations flowing from the Constitution, and refrain from any measure which could jeopardise the attainment of the objectives set out in the Constitution. These articles demand Britain's unqualified support for the future actions and conduct of the European Union, however unacceptable they might be. The EU Charter of Fundamental Rights is made binding in this Constitution. The Charter takes ownership of our rights. Robin Cook informed the House of Commons the Charter was of zero constitutional concern, and Keith Vaz, the former Minister for Europe, likened its significance to a copy of the Beano. In fact, the Charter will give the European Union power to interfere with and legislate on every aspect of our lives. Most of the rights in the Charter sound splendid, except that we already possess them all and more under our own Constitution. Written into the EU Charter, however, is the right of the European Union to impose limitations on our human rights, quote, if they are necessary and meet objectives recognised by the Union, close quote. We didn't have that limitation before, because we, the people of Britain, are sovereign. Our fundamental rights are not in the gift or at the discretion of a government. We in Britain acquire our human rights at the time of our birth, without interference from state or sovereign. They are ours as of right. The EU Constitution changes all that. In brief, agreeing to this Constitution is an acknowledgement that the power to govern Britain is vested in the European Union and not Westminster. The Constitution requires that it shall be ratified by Member States in accordance with their respective constitutional requirements. This poses a serious problem for Britain. We already have a Constitution that forbids a Parliament from binding its successors. This EU Constitution does precisely that, handing over the complete governance of this nation to a foreign power. What is being proposed is unconstitutional and is illegal. The Constitution marks the final transfer of power from the Member States to the European Union, heralding the birth of a full-blown federal state and the death of the nation-state. That which was secretly planned 30 years ago is about to happen. This is the end game. Where do the British political parties that have MPs or MEPs stand on the issue of the European Union? The Labour Party is totally committed to membership of the EU. The Liberal Democrat Party is similarly anxious that we should be part of a European federal state. The Conservative Party always has been and still is committed to Britain's membership. This is the party that by deceit took us into the EU and signed 3 of the 5 treaties. Amongst others, the Green Party supports Britain's continued membership. The United Kingdom Independence Party is committed to Britain's withdrawal from the EU. The forthcoming Constitution highlights the problems now faced by the 4 pro-EU parties. In Europe, but not ruled by Europe, was always dishonest, and the EU Constitution shows it up for the sham it was. No to the euro, but yes to the EU is now virtually impossible under the new Constitution. We will renegotiate the treaties was and is deceitful. In the history of the EU, there is not one instance of power being returned to the Member States. And anyway, how can you negotiate when you can't say no? Constitutionally and economically, is withdrawal from the EU, as advocated by the UK Independence Party, possible? Under our present Constitution, it merely requires a bill passed in Parliament to repeal the 1972 European Communities Act, and Britain would regain its independence immediately. Economically, it is more than possible. Britain is the 4th largest economy in the world and would continue to trade with the EU after it left, in the same way as the rest of the world does. British jobs are dependent on trade with the EU, not on membership. As we have seen, however, the real cost of membership has been much greater than a monetary commitment. Our nation is about to disappear and become part of a federal state. We now face EU plans that by the summer of 2004 will destroy our legal system, our currency, our constitution, our way of life, our independence, and our parliament. If you are happy with this state of affairs, continue to support the Labour, Conservative, Liberal Democrat, Green and Nationalist parties. All of them will ensure that Britain remains in the EU and continues to be controlled by it. But it is not inevitable. You can stop this happening, you really can. Those who have brought this about have done so only by suppressing public debate on the EU. The media also have been gagged. You can change that now. Join a political party. Demand that your MP and MEP oppose the European arrest warrant and the Constitution. Vote against membership of the single currency. Oppose the regionalisation programme. Demand, at the very least, a British referendum on the ratification of the European Union Constitution. And get around that media ban by showing this video to as many people as possible. As Lord Stoddart said earlier, Britain is under a greater threat to its continuous right to self-government than at any time since 1940. We, the British, have never been asked if we want to join the European Union. For 30 years, we've been told that a federal European state was not being created, and now it's staring us in the face. For 30 years, we've been lied to. And for what? Disregard the political rhetoric about being at the heart of Europe or influencing Europe or the scores of other meaningless slogans. We Britons should ask ourselves this simple question. Are we prepared to give up our right to govern ourselves to stay in the European Union? Or is it too high a price to pay? If you think this price is too high, then there's still time for you to do something about it. But soon, very soon, there won't be. Get around that media ban by showing this video to as many people as possible.